RKB Accounting specializes in cross-border taxation. Your one-stop solution for filing taxes in the United States and Canada. RKB handles income tax, sales tax, payroll, and bookkeeping, and also helps in incorporating your business on both sides of the border. Please visit us at rkbaccounting.ca to learn more about our services.
So we did an overview in our last class for T1. I will quickly recap that, and then we will work on a T1 today. So T1 is the personal income tax return in Canada. So I'm going to create a new T1 for the tax year 2022. So any software, there are various software for preparing T1. So when you log into the software T1 2022, you see the tab here, Preparer. So when you click on the Prepare, these are all the forms. These are the slips. That means these are you are reporting your income on the slip. Then based on those slips, the software does some working, or you may also require to enter some worksheet. These were the income from T slips, like your T4. But suppose if you have a rental income or if you have a business income, there is no T slip for that. So for that, you need to create a separate schedule, and those schedules are called farming activities. T776 is quite often used when you have a rental property. So you have a property, you have rented it out, or you have rented out your basement, then you need to fill out the T776. And mainly is the T2125. This is for your business or professional income. So you input all your income here, expenses, then it will give you the net income, and your net income will flow to T1 general. So this is the preparer. All the forms are here. You can scroll down and find the form, or you have the ability to search the form. For this software, it is called, it's a button called F4. So the moment you hit F4, it will give you an ability to search. So I'm searching for T4. So it will ask me to create a new T4. There are various type of T4, T4A OAS, old age security pension, T4 RSP. When you withdraw money from your RRSP, the bank will issue a T4 RSP and send it to CRA. How many hours? T4E, when you apply for your employment insurance and you get money from the Employment Insurance Service Canada, and that is taxable. T4A, sometimes you paid a fees, like you went to a school and did some presentation and the school paid you some fees, so you are not an employee. You did some work for me and I paid you, and since you are not full-time or part-time employment, so I can issue a T4A. The first tab is preparer. Then this is a review tab. So once you fill out the information, the software review it, and there are some red mark which you must resolve. There are some yellow mark which is just a caution. You may or may not like to, you may want to look into that and look into the message. Once all the reviews are clear, then you go and transmit. That means you file the tax return electronically to CRA. So right now we cannot file because there are so many reviews pending. Unless we remove all the red reviews, software will not allow me to file the return. But before filing the return, you must ask your client to sign the authorization form. And that authorization form is called Information Return for Electronic Filing of an Individual Income Tax and Benefit Return. So this is the form where the client has to sign, and you have to keep it, I guess, 5 to 7 years. CRA may ask you that you have filed somebody's return. Were you authorized for that? And then you can print the return here, select the return, and what are the forms you want to print and what forms you don't want to print. You have the ability to select or deselect. So let's look at this return. I'm preparing a new return, assuming that he is my new client. So I need to fill out his master information. And in all type of software, you will find that info sheet. So info sheet is basically your personal information, name, address, spouse detail, marital status, citizenship, all those you fill out. And these details, once you fill out, you can carry forward for next year. So you don't have to fill out it again. So I'm going to fill out this as a new client and we will work on it together. So I have created, he's my new client, John Smith, and he has provided his personal information. His name, date of birth, SIN number. These are all not correct information. Address. So even when I put the SIN number, we may get a message that the SIN number is not valid. Address, spouse name, daughter. Daughter will be considered a dependent because she is less than 18 years old. Once she is 18 years or over, then she will not be considered a dependent and we do not need to enter this information. When we enter this information, then she will be considered a dependent and many of you might be getting Canada child benefit, and that child benefit is calculated based on how many children you have. So I'm going to put this information on the next screen. You will not be able to see it. So first thing is the social insurance number 432756345. As expected, yellow mark that the invalid SIN because this is not a correct SIN number. 1992, July 14. He is a Mr. John Smith. John Smith. You have to be careful between first name and last name and initial. If that name does not match with the CRA record, then when you are trying to file your return electronically, it will give an error message. But in the error message, it will tell you that the name associated with SIN number does not match with the CRA record. Nickname, if you want to put any, male, English. Yes, he's married. So you have these are the filing status: married, common law, widow, divorce, separated, single. If his marital status had changed, then you have to provide the day and month of the change, and then you also have to provide the previous marital. So if somebody is single and he became married in 2022, I need to enter this information. Did John change his last name? If you change your name, you need to tick this box. Is John Canadian citizen? Yes, he is a Canadian citizen. This information is collected for the purpose of Election Canada. This has nothing to do with the tax return or the tax calculation. Then his address, 31 Lisa Crescent, City Concord, Province Ontario, postal code L4K3P8. Email address john782@gmail.com. Phone number 416-758-8922. Mobile number same 416-758-8922. So I started with working with the John return, and I'm only right now filling the John's information. So this return is only prepared for John. Once I enter his spouse information, then we will create his spouse return as well. And in Canada, you are mostly advised that you file both the spouse, husband and wife should file their return together, even though their returns are filed individually. So first, suppose John's return is ready, then I file the John's return, then I go to his spouse return and file the spouse return. But there are various calculation which is based on your family income. So for example, how much child tax benefit, Canada child benefit you will get, it is based on family income, and family income means income from both the spouse. So that's the reason you need to file return together. However, tax calculation, income tax payable, everything is done on a personal level. You only have an option that we talked about basic personal amount when we were doing the payroll, that approximately $14,000-15,000, which is not taxable. So if your spouse income is nil or less than $14,000, then the remaining amount can be transferred to claim on the other spouse return. Okay, so let's put the spouse information: 543-652-781, invalid. 1994-08-15, message, and then Jana, Tally, nickname I don't know, female, English. If you want to put the email address, phone number, mobile number, you can do that. I have John's information, that should be enough. Now, at this stage, I have only prepared the John's return and provided the John's spouse information. So suppose, for hypothetically or in many situations, Jana does not want to file the return together. There could be many reasons, or they have some dispute going or something like that. So in that case, still when John is filing his tax return, and if he is not yet legally separated, then he have to provide the spouse information. So at this stage, I have created the John's return and provided his spouse information. But in this case, I know that Jana and John, they want to file their return together. Then I'm going to create spouse return. And that I can do, I can just say, either I can go to the spouse and create here, click here, or when I tell the system to switch spouse, the system will ask me, do you want to create a separate return for Jana? That separate return means, yes, both the return are separate, but when I'm doing in the same file, it is going to save only one file, and within that file, there will be linkage between both the spouse's income and some other tax calculation. So switch spouse. Do you want to create a new return for spouse or add an existing return? So suppose if I have already created, like I was creating a John's return, and I have already created Jana return separately, then I can merge it together. But now I haven't done that, so I'm going to create a separate create a return for Jana. So the information automatically flows what I input there. And you can see his spouse John Smith information is already here. You can switch between a spouse. Most of the software gives you this option. The only thing you will need to find, if it is a different software, where is that option? John Smith, Jana Tally. So since it is giving me yellow mark, so I'm going to put the same email address for him. Phone number 647-852-6879. 647-852-6879. C is a Canadian citizen. SIN number is not valid because this is a fake SIN number. And then we fill out the personal information. Then we fill out the contact information. Then we fill out the residency information. This is important. If the province or territory had changed. So this read it here. Province territory of your residence on December 31st, 2022. So in this case, I have selected Ontario. That means when I'm filing and preparing his tax return, if he has taxable income, then he has to pay taxes on federal income tax and Ontario provincial income tax. So your tax residency in the case of province depends where you were resident as at December 31st, 2022. So suppose you were in Alberta and in middle of June you moved to Saskatchewan, and then in December you moved to Ontario. So since on 31st December you were in Ontario, so you will file your return as a resident of Ontario. Spouse information. Then there are certain credits or certain life event, like somebody has there is a death or something, so then we do a final terminal return. If you have any disability, you can claim disability here. Your doctor has to sign the disability certificate. If you have any education amount to claim, caregiver amount to claim, volunteer firefighters if you are, Canada working benefit and climate action incentive. Is Jana exempt from income tax in Canada? Normally, no. There are very exceptional situation when you are exempt from income tax. No. Was Jana a person in respect of whom a children's special allowance was payable at any time? Life-threatening event, bankruptcy, you need to provide the date of your bankruptcy, type of your bankruptcy, type of your return. If you are in prison, then you have to provide that information. Canada worker benefits, and so this is the same information asking for the spouse. This was for Jana, and this is for John. Then this area is very, very important. Provide information to Election Canada. So provide the information to Election Canada. But if you are not a Canadian citizen, then you need not to, because it's of no use, because you're not entitled to vote. Did Jana own foreign property? If you own more than $100,000 property, you have to report it. If you do not report it, the fine is $25 per day. So even suppose if you have a house in India, which is more than $100,000, but you landed to Canada and you don't have any income, your income is zero, you don't have any taxes payable, but still you have to report your foreign property. If you do not report, $25 per day, but they won't charge you more than $2,500 in a year. Did Jana sell her home? If you sell your principal residence, you need to specify here. There is no capital gain taxes payable when you sell your home if you have used your home as your principal residence for all the years since you bought it. But you have to provide that information to CRA. So you just provide the information when you purchased. If you say, yes, I sell my home, then you provide the information. When did I purchase? What was my purchase cost? When did I sell? What was my selling price? And did I use the home for my principal residence for all the years? You tick that yes. If you tick no, that no, I bought the home, I used for 10 years for my principal residence, and then for 2 years I have rented it, and the 12th year I sold it, then capital gain will be prorated between 10 years and 12 years. Capital gains related to 10 years will not be taxable under the principal residence exemption, but for the 2 year, you have to pay taxes if you have capital gain prorated for 2 years. Is Jana income zero? So this is the box, as I told you, that if one spouse income is zero, then the basic personal amount which you claim will pass on to another return. But in this case, I know they have provided me the T4. Does Jana authorize CRA to provide their name and email address to Ontario Health? Yes, there is no problem in that. So here it is, no pre-assessment review, post-assessment review. If you are doing your return yourself, then of course you will select client. Otherwise, for me, contact the preparer. So if there is any question or any query or any information needed, CRA will call me and CRA will discuss me because I'm authorized for this client. So this is pretty much the basic information. So this is basic information, master information in your return, which goes year over year. Then, as we discussed in our last class, we will focus on inputting all the income information. Then we will try to see what are the deduction he is entitled to, which will reduce his income, and that's way he can reduce his income tax liability.